this is the home of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And yes, we got a lot of Wildcats in the house, and the Wildcats hail Wildcats. This is Wildcat country. But Dr. Bethune, of course, everyone knows she started Bethune-Cookman University back in 1904 with how many little girls, everybody?
She had 5 little girls and her son.
And her son, yes. So we are here because you've taken upon a different shift, not just this book, but more recently with historical fiction.
Yeah.
So did you know about Dr. Bethune before you decided to write?
Yeah, so this book is about the friendship between Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune and Eleanor Roosevelt. A lot of people don't know that she was best friends with the First Lady of the United States. So I knew about Dr. Bethune since I was a little girl. I remember looking her up when I was a child for some project or something, and I was like, wow, there's a black lady that has a college. Maybe one day I can have a college, you know, that kind. So I knew about her, but I didn't really know about her. And then also my mother-in-law, who's here with me, had me join NCNW way back in the day when I first got married, because she was the president of the Los Angeles section for NCNW. So over the years, I knew more and more about her. But I never knew about her relationship with Eleanor Roosevelt and the things that those two women did to change this country.
Yes.
That was all new when we decided to write this book.
Right. And I don't know, the title struck me when I first saw the book, or the promotion for the book coming out, because was it HBO, I believe? They did a little series called The First Ladies.
Yes, but our book had that title, and the book had been finished before HBO came out.
So they just snatched it up.
Yeah, and you know, you can't copyright a title, unfortunately.
Right.
But we chose the title of First Ladies because obviously Eleanor Roosevelt was the First Lady of the United States. But people didn't know that Mary McLeod Bethune was called the First Lady of the Struggle.
Yes, she does.
And one of the things we discovered in our research, it was that it was Eleanor Roosevelt who gave her the name, who said, I might be the First Lady of this country,
right,
but this is the most important First Lady. She's the First Lady of the struggle.
Definitely so, because her hand was in a lot of pots well beyond Daytona Beach, Florida.
Definitely.
And well beyond her hometown, well beyond even Washington, D.C.
Yeah, she was an international, well, she was definitely national, because she became an important advisor to presidents, not just FDR.
That's right.
So she was a black woman who wasn't called black then. She was colored, a colored woman, a Negro woman, who used to have to take the segregated train from here in Daytona Beach.
Right.
She had to be in the colored car, and she's riding up in a colored car that's all dirty and filthy on her way to the White House.
Right.
That's just crazy to me.
It is, but there's a story that is among us in the community from those who were here back in the heyday, where they held the train for her with just a simple phone call because she was trying to get to D.C.
Yeah, so they held the train that time. That's a true story.
Yeah.
They held the train for her because she was running late, and they had to hold the train to her for her. She was trying to get to D.C. and was going to do another one. She was about to leave internationally.
Right.
And they ended up holding the ship for her.
Wow. Yeah.
They ended up they understood who Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune was.
Right.
So that was her first trip to Europe.
Yes, yes. So yeah, she definitely traveled internationally. One of the questions I had when we created the exhibit surrounding the statue of her, the marble statue, when it came to Daytona Beach, was, I said, I always see her riding in something. Did she ever drive?
She did, yeah.
And no one could answer that question for me.
I think she knew how to drive. She did not like to drive. And she had cars, you know? And even her son, I can't remember what kind of car it was that he wanted. It was something like a Cadillac when he graduated, but black people couldn't have Cadillacs. Except for Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. Because he's like, how you gonna tell, if I have the money, how you gonna tell me? So I loved her. I loved her.
That's true. All right. Now we will ask for questions soon, but just what is your favorite part of the First Lady's book, or the the things that got a chance to actually make the edits.
Yeah,
for
I
the
know,
book.
because we had to cut out a lot of this
Right.
book. You know, first of all, the fact that this is a friendship between a black woman and a white woman during segregation and Jim Crow is unbelievable.
Right.
The fact that this is a friendship between those two women, when one of them really had the position of being the most powerful woman in the United States just because of her husband, and she was still best friends with a black woman. And then the fact that they were real girlfriends.
Right.
They were real girlfriends who talked about losing weight, talked about what they're going to eat, their clothes, their husbands messing up.
Right.
And then the thing I think I like the best is they were real girlfriends who made mistakes with each other.
Yes.
There's a lot of mistakes they make with each other in this book, racially motivated, racial hot topics that get destroyed between the two of them, and they got to figure it out. They have to figure out a way to make it up, but they were best friends and they wanted to.
Right.
So I think the favorite part of this to me is that the real friendship between a black woman and a white woman, and when people like that can come together, some real changes can be made.
And we see that depicted every so often, surface level in films or TV. But what was it that stuck out to you, really, that showed they really had a genuine friendship?
There were a couple of things. Of course, when they talked about their husbands, but that's not. But one of the things is that Mary and Eleanor worked on wanting to pass that lynching bill. They really wanted to get that lynching bill passed. And think about this. This was in the 30s, the 1930s. I think one of their biggest disappointments, if they came back now, was that lynching bill that they worked on did not get passed until 2022. But this was in 1930 that they were trying to get it passed. One of the scenes that did make it in the book that to me showed how good they were as friends were when they were told by FDR, no, we're not going to have this lynching bill. The two of them went off together and cried.
Wow.
And they just wept because they were weeping for all the black men that they knew were going to be lynched in the future. That's girlfriends, you know, when you can go off together and have that kind of emotional situation.
And one of the things, I don't know if you found this out or not, talking to the family that I got a chance to kind of get close with in Maysville, was that she actually saw one of her friends lynched. And
Yes.
so,
Well, she saw one of her father's friends. She was a child.
okay.
And her father took her to a mule sale or something, or a mule auction. And so she was just a little girl, had gone to a mule thing with her father. It was the first time that he had, she purchased some lemonade and some snacks outside the home because they were poor.
Right.
And they went, and she was so excited on top of his shoulders and everything, looking at the mules being auctioned off. And then a white man got into an argument with her dad's best friend. And he lit something and put the fire to the man's face.
Right.
And the black man said, okay, that's as far as you're going. And as soon as he hit the white man, and she, when she told the story, all the white men rushed toward that situation, and her father picked her up, and they ran away from the situation. And then she overheard all of their talking that night. She didn't know what that was, but she overheard her grandmother and her parents talking about he was going to be lynched, and her grandmother saying something like, I hope they don't destroy the body so they have something to bury. And so she was in the middle of that.
Right, because I think often enough people don't realize that the lynching part is one thing, but sometimes they go back and burn the body.
Yeah, and people don't realize that lynching is torture. People think it's just hanging.
Right.
The hanging is almost the part that you can handle. Yeah. Most of the time it was people putting ads in papers saying there's going to be a lynching Sunday, bring your kids, wear your best clothes. Then they would drag the people, they wouldn't be dead, you know, then they would burn them. and then they would hang them.
Yeah.
And then they would take body parts and give them out as souvenirs. So you could walk down the street and you would see the body part. There would be a sign saying this came from the N-word that we lynched last Sunday, and people celebrated that.
Right.
And if you see old pictures, you can see men smiling, looking at the bodies, the burnt bodies hanging from the tree.
Right.
And I look at those pictures and I wonder, where are those people now? And are they still smiling?
Some, well, not them maybe, but those children, of course, are still among us.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about them. I know where they are.
Yeah. And then, so when you tell the story about this amazing black woman and this amazing white woman who were friends, do you see any mending or healing happening as you travel the country with the book?
Yeah, and so I do. One of the things, when we wrote The Personal Librarian, Marie, my co-author, is white, because a lot of people may not know that. My co-author is white, and we wrote this book called The Personal Librarian, that was about a black woman who was passing. She wasn't passing because she wanted to be white. She was passing for fear of being black in this country. And she became J.P. Morgan's personal librarian. And he has the biggest collection in the world of rare manuscripts and art. And she built that. And he never knew. J.P. Morgan, the most powerful man in the world, never knew that woman working side by side was black girl magic.